Hey guys, I wanted to make a short video today about working with acrylic and the adhesives that you use with acrylic. I have several different lines of products on the website that are now made of acrylic. One of them is the 2/85th scale modular road system, and this is a sample of the T intersection and the sidewalks that come with it. And then there's the epic scale city tiles. Some of them, the road sections, have separate pieces. The actual city tiles themselves are 1/8 inch thick and they don't have separate pieces, but the road pieces do, so they have separate pieces. And then the 2/85th scale cardstock series was requested that it be made out of acrylic as well, so I made some of the buildings out of acrylic. So I want to talk to you guys about using acrylic and using the adhesives, because I know a lot of you guys don't have any experience using this stuff, and it's kind of second nature for me. I've been using acrylic and these adhesives like Weld on number 3 for 30 some years, but it's kind of silly for me to assume that you guys are just as familiar. Some of you may be, but most of you probably aren't. So I want to talk about the adhesives. Weld on number 3 is my first choice for using on acrylics. It is specifically made for acrylics, and it's the best thing for it. If you can't get that where you live, then there's a product from Plastruct called Plastic Weld, which also works good on acrylic. It works on some other plastics as well, but it does work on acrylic. And then just regular Testors liquid model cement works pretty good too. A little slower, but it works okay. So in order of preference would be the Weld on number 3, Plastic Weld, and then the cement, the Testors. Now the Weld on, when you're using it, there's two ways to do it. One, you can apply with a brush. It's liquid, like it's water thin. You just dip it in and use the brush, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And the other way to do it is with an applicator bottle that has a very tiny little needle, and you just tip it and it just goes in like that. So that's two ways to do it. I prefer the applicator bottle myself. You may prefer the brush. The thing with acrylic is that you want to make sure that your parts are lined up properly, and then you apply your glue. A lot of you are familiar with other types of glue where you put a little glue on one piece, put a little on the other, and then stick the two together. You don't do that with these liquid cements. Take your piece, line it up against something. It doesn't have to be a fancy metal block like this. It can be just about anything that's straight. Then take your sidewalk piece, make sure you've got the engraved side up, because you don't want to glue that side down. And then you just line both of them up against that, and then make sure they're even at each end. And if you have the applicator bottle, then you just run a little bead right along where they come together there, and it'll suck underneath. It's they call it capillary action. It just works its way in magically. Hold it down for a few seconds, and that's it. That piece is glued on. Now when you get to a corner piece like this, same thing applies. You get a piece like that, put that on there, get it all lined up where you want it, and just hold it for a few seconds. And that's it. If you don't have an applicator bottle and you want to use a brush, fine. The only reason I don't like doing this is because the Weld on number 3 evaporates very quickly. So if you had this bottle and you were doing a lot of pieces, over a half-hour period or so, you'd see that level drop, not just because you're using it, but it would just evaporate. So here's another piece, and I want to show you something here too. The engraved lines in here actually serve to kind of help line things up. If you don't have a little block or you don't feel like doing that, you can just line your piece up and it just kind of locates itself where it needs to be. And then you take your brush with the liquid and run it right along the seam where they come together. And like I said, with using the capillary action, the adhesive goes underneath, gets between the two pieces, and it actually welds the two pieces together. It is a solvent, and it softens the plastics, and the plastics commingle and become one when they recure. So that's how you glue together one of the 2/85 scale modular road pieces. Same thing applies with the epic scale road tiles. These are a little bigger because they have the sidewalk and some extra bit, but the same thing applies. Line it up, take your applicator bottle, run it right along that, whoops, tight, didn't put that lid back on properly. Get that off pretty quick. If you have a spill like that and you get it off pretty quick, it won't start eating into the plastic. If you let it sit there for a while, it will start eating into the plastic because it is a solvent. So if you have a spill, just wipe it off real quick and you'll be okay. Okay, now on a piece like this, where it's a lot of area, when the glue gets underneath there, it may or may not go all the way out. So sometimes I like to go along this seam and just put a little bit on there too, so it's not coming up. Okay, let's see what's the top of this piece. So a little corner piece goes on this way. Same deal. If looks like there's too much glue, remember it's going to evaporate in a couple of seconds. So as long as you don't have a big spill like I just had a second ago, don't worry about a little extra glue. It's just going to evaporate. And we'll put this piece over there. And just hold that for a few seconds. And that's all there is to it. Those are glued together. Now, when you get to something like this here, this building, one thing you have to be aware of is when I laser cut acrylic, the actual edges where it cut, it does melt a little. And when it melts a little, it doesn't glue quite as easily. So what you need to do, somewhere here on my desk I have an X-Acto knife. There we go. What you need to do is where you're going to glue, you can use an X-Acto knife and just kind of scrape it a little. Or if you have a handy dandy little sanding block, just sand just a little bit where you're going to do your gluing. That gives the glue a nice place to kind of bite into. Where it's really, really shiny along the edge, the glue doesn't like to attack as much. So just a little bit of sanding. And that gets that ready. So now these two pieces want to go together like this. So all we need to do, this is really easy, just put this up against a block, get your two pieces together, and then just a quick line right down there. Now the same thing applies to like these floor sections. If you were going to put these in, you would want to sand this edge just a little bit. Doesn't take a whole lot. You're just kind of knocking that gloss off. And you line it up where you want it to be. Just hold it there. A little dab, a little dab. Hold it for a few seconds. The plastics are melting together now. And then let it go. And that's all there is to it. It's acrylic is a very different material than you may be used to. It's not the same plastic that plastic models are made out of. It's a little harder material and it's tougher. So it takes a little getting used to, but as you can see, in just a couple of minutes we've done 3 different pieces here. And if you had kind of an assembly line set up and you were doing a lot of different road pieces, you could just knock them out real quick. So hope that helps you. Weld on number 3 is actually available on Amazon.com. You can order it there. This is a 1-pint can. This should last you, the rest of your life. The Plastruct plastic weld is available in some hobby shops and at Plastruct.com. And the Tester's model glue, the liquid, is available just about anywhere. All hobby shops, even like Walmart, places like that. So there you go. There's how you work with acrylic. It's very easy. It's very simple. It's a good, durable, hard material. I love acrylic. It's a great material to use, but like I said, you need to get used to using it, and once you do, you'll love it too. Thanks a lot, guys.